Hey guys, Ross Tridipo with CitruScrub Carpet Cleaning here in Indianapolis. It's a nice day out today, early March, and I think we hit almost 70 degrees today, so not bad. And I'm just here sitting in my van, like perverts do, and I wanted to show you my vacuum hose reel today because it was a manual rewind vacuum hose reel, and I converted it to an electric vacuum hose reel. And you're probably wondering how I did that. So today I'm going to show you. Let's go check it out. Alright, that's it right there. And this is the vacuum hose reel, obviously. I took the vacuum hose off so that we could kind of see it. And before this black ring was on here and this pink base plate, this was just a plain vacuum hose reel with nothing on it. And I kept thinking, how can I make this thing electric? And I noticed there was space in there, a little bit of space between the hub of the actual vacuum hose reel and this bracket that holds the vacuum hose reel up. There's about an inch there. And I thought, you know, I bet I could cram a gear in there and attach an electric motor somehow and run power to it and have a powered vacuum hose reel. So it started just as a thought on the back of a napkin, really. And I took a kind of a risk and bought all the parts not knowing if it would work or not, and took the reel completely off the van. What I had to do first was line up all of these circles. So this, the actual vacuum hose hub, is a circle. This base plate is a circle. This ring sprocket is a circle, and they all had to be aligned perfectly so that this thing would spin on a chain. And that was the hardest part by far. It took a lot of measuring and a lot of high school geometry that I had forgotten all about, but I got it all done. Now, the reason I needed a base plate, it would have been nice if I could have just screwed this ring sprocket right onto the hub, but number one, it was too big to fit on the hub. I don't know if that's a good shot or not. There's nowhere to screw it into. These are actually the screws that are holding it on. You can see where I had to notch the hub a little bit for those screws to go through, those bolts there. But number two, these spindles are wider than the hub here. I think that's 1/8 inch, and these spindles protrude out this way like another 1/8 inch. So that pink base plate, I just painted it pink to match my van, is there for two reasons. Number one, I needed space to clear these spindles, and number two, I needed something bigger than the hub itself to attach this ring sprocket to, if that makes sense. And all of those circles had to line up perfectly. It was pretty terrible. Involved a lot of math and big compasses and tools that I'll never need again. Kind of sad that I had to buy them. And then this is a 1/2 horsepower 12-volt electric motor from Hannay reels, and I had to drill this notch here. I drilled 2 holes, drew a line with a ruler between the 2 holes to get this straight line here, and then I cut that out with a jigsaw, and then I ended up with kind of that tic-tac shape. That way I can mount the motor on there and lift it up higher up in this tic-tac, get the chain around it, and then drop it down where it's supposed to go, and I've got the right amount of tension. So to get the motor onto that bracket, I didn't know how that was going to work either, and it just so happened that the flange perfectly clears this bracket, which I think was 6 inches wide, maybe 6 1/4, something like that. And this flange has just perfectly cleared it. So I put 2 angle iron brackets on either side, right here. Now, there are some kind of rules about these bolts that hold the motor on. There's some math you're supposed to do, and they are supposed to be some kind of equivalency to the drive shaft of the motor, and I think that my bolts are actually too small, but I couldn't go any bigger because they would not they wouldn't clear the angle iron brackets. I had to size these down so they would fit next to that bracket, if that makes sense. So it actually took a little trial and error. I actually didn't get all the circles lined up perfectly. So the first time I had all this together, when I would roll the whole reel here, on one end it would be real tight and on the other end it was real loose. So I took it all back apart and I drilled out all the holes bigger, a little bit bigger than I had them. And then I kind of put it all back together, hand tightened all of the bolts, nuts and bolts, and then I just spun it a couple times and it self-righted. It got itself perfectly centered, and then I tightened everything down. And you wouldn't realize it, but it is a chore. There's a spectacular set of hoops you have to jump through to get this whole wagon wheel back on the hose reel assembly. And you got to figure out how to get that on there and also get the base plate, because these screws that hold the base plate on are actually inside the cylinder. And then you got to figure out how to get this on too. So it's a huge balancing act to get it all together. And it was terrible, and there were several times I wanted to give up, but I'm glad I did it because this thing is just an absolute beast. It works really good. I'll show you how I got it wired real quick. It comes through here, obviously, and it goes, this is a support brace to give this reel some strength, or yeah, the hose reel some strength, which is really nice because this bad boy weighs like 24 pounds, and then I've got another probably 10 pounds worth of metal and hardware on it. So I got like almost like a 40-pound bag worth of salt hanging off this one bracket. And I was a little bit worried about it. When I put this support brace back on, which is a factory part from Butler anyway, it was there before, it really made it solid. I mean, this whole thing is not moving anywhere. So I'll show you how I got it wired. You can see where the wires, the power wires go under there. Then we'll hop out here and I'll show you where they go. So they come through that support brace, and to the switch I had to drill a hole down here in this bracket. So that's your power that goes to the switch. There's the front side of the switch. And then this brace just happened to be there, and it was a nice tidy little way to kind of hide the power wire. And I've got the power and ground wires inside this flex tubing. So they run down this channel, and you can see where they come out there. And then there's a space underneath this fresh water tank. This space here, where the dump valve comes through, I ran those wires through this space, and they actually come out here underneath this dump valve. So there's a power on one side, and that's the ground there, I think. And then I tucked them underneath this plastic trim, and so it comes all the way through here. Had to take this piece off, ran the wire through there, all the way through here, all the way through here underneath this trim. I didn't have to take any of this off. You can actually see a little bit of the wire right there. See it in there? All the way through here. And then I had to pull back this rubber. To do that, you have to take this panel off here. It's real easy. I used a carpet stair tool, got it behind there and just pried it off, and it pops right off. Then you pull this rubber back, and there's a grommet up in there. And I cut a slit in the grommet to run my power and ground cables through that grommet to get through the firewall. And then once I had everything run, I hosed it down with some gasket maker to make sure that it was all sealed and I don't get any water inside the van or anything through the firewall. Then, these are the two wires here. They come through the firewall, and I've got one grounded right there. This ground was already here. I just put a ring terminal on the end of the wire and grounded it on a ground that was already there. And then the other one, as you can see, comes here. I had to extend the terminal on this side terminal battery, and then I put another ring terminal on this wire and put it on the extension. So there might have been a shorter way to ground it, but I thought, you know what, if I'm running cable all the way up here through this grommet and everything, I'm just gonna run the ground up here too. So that's how that's all set up. Let me show you one more time a view from this end. You can see how I had to notch out this hub to get the base plate on. This is the pink part. I didn't paint the back side, I just painted the front side. Or I guess actually technically this is the front, the other's the back, but you know what I mean. You can see how I got that all notched out. And then got a piece of 35 chain, cut it to size, used the master link. It comes down here to this 11-tooth sprocket. It's super fast right now. If I wanted to slow it down, I could put a 9-tooth sprocket on there, but I really don't think I'm gonna do that. I kind of like it fast. So I'm going to attempt to show you how this works here real quick. If I can get my phone to stay here. It might fall off when I start reeling this up, I don't know. But I'm gonna give it a shot. So it's really fast, but I can thumb it like that if I need to slow it down. And that's pretty much it. That's how it works. Also, the hose pulls off real easy too. It's super easy. It's nice and freewheeling. There's very little resistance at all. So I'm very happy with this. And the reason I messed with this is, look how Butler has this set up. That's the side door I work out of. Look how far over this way the hose reels are. And the side door is as far that way as I can get it. So reeling this up by hand, you know, you got to reel it up with this wagon wheel here, and you're reeling with one hand and you're trying to guide the hose way back there with the other. It was just unreasonable. I think this van from the get-go should have had Butler's factory electric vacuum hose reel setup, which would usually be right here on this bracket. But I did not order this van. A local trucking company ordered this van to clean out their sleeper cabs, and they never used it. So I bought it from them, and they had never turned the machine on. This van and the machine were brand new. But the dummies did not order the electric vacuum hose reel. They pimped the rest of the van out completely, and that's the one thing they didn't do. But I really think Butler intends you to have a powered reel because of the way that it's set up around the side of the door like that. It's just so hard to reel the hose in. But it's not a problem at all now that it's electrified. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for listening to me prattle on about this for 15 minutes almost. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Smell you later.